More exclusive Naruto Lemon videos coming out on my Boosty. You can support me by subscribing. Link in description. He was awarded many titles, but she became the only one who saw him as a simple man, with his weaknesses and desires. And she gave him the most precious gift in the world. She gave him her friendship. And he will do anything to make the friendship grow into something more. Chapter 11. Enjoy watching. Chapter 11 Everyday Difficulties. Sigh, you are like a child, date Bayo. Naruto sighed heavily, once again healing her comrade's broken arm. Was it really impossible to remain silent? But I read that the truth strengthens relationships between friends, the guy objected. And that friends never lie to each other. To be convincing, he even showed a book with a paragraph highlighted in it. The girl sighed again. We can say that Sai's relationship with his teammates, to put it mildly, did not improve. The former root member didn't know how to deal with emotions, what to say and what not to say. Books on psychology were of little help. And after every meeting or even a small mission, they tried to either beat him with chakra or fry him on Katon. Somehow it happened that Naruto became his consultant on making friends. And sometimes it seemed to her that she was much older than her comrades. A teacher in a kindergarten who is trying to reconcile fighting children who still don't really understand anything, who quarreled over toys. And she kept reminding herself that Sai didn't fully understand the reaction his words were causing. Because sometimes I myself wanted to kill him. But she held back, thanks to training from Grandfather Kagami. Sai. She began to apply bandages soaked in ointment. To consolidate the effect of treatment. Of course, telling the truth is very good. But there are topics that are best not touched upon. Tell me, what did you not share with Sakura again? I called her an evil bitch. The guy answered simply. But it's true. Sometimes she behaves like this. And Sasuke is like an arrogant ass. Moreover, he looked as if he doubted the correctness of using this curse. Naruto bit her lip, but then she couldn't help it and burst out laughing. Sigh, Datebayo. She almost moaned, wiping away her tears. Finally, I calmed down a little. Sigh, you exactly repeat my childhood thoughts. Sasuke may look arrogant, but in reality he is not like that. I'm not saying he's nice, kind, and harmless. No, he is a shinobi of a great clan. This first of all means education. He is an Uchiha to the core. And at the same time, he is a very good person. You should just get to know him a little better. Give it time. After all, we didn't get along right away either. He infuriated and irritated me. I wanted to surpass him, and then, somehow it turned out that we became friends, Datebayo. What about Itachi? What's wrong with Itachi? The girl didn't understand. Are you friends with him too? Sai bowed his head. I felt uneasy under the impenetrable gaze of emotionless eyes. However, Naruto had a lot of experience dealing with people like this. Yes. Is he dear to you? Some people think he is your fiancé. Or a lover. He calmly laid out the information. Naruto blushed slightly, but her smile was striking in its softness. No, Sai, he is not my fiancé or my lover. But he is very, very dear to me. She moved away from the patient. Okay, it's all over now. I think you'd better spend some time here. Until Sakura cools down, Datebayo. Sai swallowed and agreed. When Naruto left the room, Sasuke was already waiting for her. Together they headed to the staff room. So I'm good? The Uchiha grinned. Yes. Naruto hit him on the shoulder with a folder with a medical history. And also harmful and disgusting. Well, should you be gentler with Sai? You know, he chooses a model of behavior for himself. And don't let Shinigami choose Kakashi-san. All we needed was one more pervert. Sasuke chuckled. He was always amused by his friend's categorical attitude towards the captain of the squad. The small, bright room of the staff room was not empty now. On the sofa, covered with an old blanket, a medic was curled up, sleeping off his night duty. Naruto put a finger to her lips, tiptoed inside, grabbed a teapot and a pack of cookies and left. You can also drink tea in the laboratory. Mint gave freshness and a subtle peppery note, and lemongrass teased the taste with a subtle sourness. Naruto inhaled the aroma of the fragrant drink with pleasure and took a cookie from the plate. Fatty, oily, saturated with the smells of cumin and spices, it was sent in packs from Suna by Temari, who somehow learned that the girl loved sweet pastries. Naruto did not remain in debt, generously sharing with her new friend the best dango in the world, specially sealed to keep it fresh longer. So they chased the falcon with the same scroll. And in addition to the parcels, there were short messages from the villages, the latest news. Temari has already understood the advantage of unofficial information, bypassing the elders, so to speak. Besides, as the desert woman herself reported, Elder Chie is unlikely to be angry. Because one day Naruto was sent along with cookies a couple of scrolls describing poisons unknown to the girl. Temari simply didn't understand this kind of stuff, which means, "Are you in the clouds again, Dobe?" Sasuke chuckled, sitting comfortably on a high chair. "Do you know that we will have a new captain for a while? What happened to Kakashi?" Uzumaki raised her eyebrows. The new Sharingan exhausted him, and Tsunade-san admitted him to the hospital. "Thought you knew." Naruto rubbed her forehead, remembering. Perhaps something similar was said to her, but she did not hear, being overloaded with business. Yes, it seemed like there was something like that. "I don't remember," she admitted. "We have this going on here now you can't imagine. Who will even be a replacement?" "I have no idea. Tsunade-san didn't talk about it. We'll probably find out when we go on a new mission." The Uchiha looked seriously at his friend. "Only I heard that this is Kakashi's long friend, who calls him senpai. Did you eavesdrop under the windows of the Kage's office again?" Uzumaki concluded, grinning widely. And she barely saved the sigh from the marauding actions of the vengeful Uchiha. She also became serious. "Most likely this is someone from the root. Perhaps he left there with Kakashi. I'll have to ask Sai. And will he answer you? Will he tell the truth?" "If you know how to ask, then yes." Naruto sighed heavily and looked at her friend reproachfully. "Sasuke, if you weren't offended, you would understand that Sai has amazing techniques. You can train with him at full strength. And he won't give in to you. Moreover, as a member of the root, he knows and can do a lot." The Uchiha pursed his lips. He could not help but admit that his friend was right. "But how can you communicate normally with a person who calls you an ass to your face?" he asked indignantly. Naruto giggled. "But you must admit, he has every right to do this. Sometimes you really act like Uzumaki." Naruto giggled again. "Traitor," Sasuke proclaimed tragically, although his black eyes were laughing. "I was left alone against the whole world. What should I do?" "Try to make friends with Sai," Naruto advised again. "You'll save me a lot of nerves that I spend trying to separate you." "I'll try," the Uchiha said hesitantly. Then he smiled mischievously. "Although I agree with his diagnosis of Sakura." "Molested you again?" A heavy sigh. "Is everything so sad, Date Bale?" But Naruto had a hard time holding back her laughter. "No, she doesn't pester me like she did as a child." He shook his head. "But that doesn't make it any easier. She has matured and is on her way now and at all other techniques." Oh, the girl didn't know what to say. She and Sakura worked well together, replacing each other on duty, understanding each other perfectly when it came to patients or medications. But otherwise, Haruno remained firmly convinced that Naruto is the main rival and contender for the hand, heart, and other parts of the Uchiha Sasuke. This prevented the girls from not only becoming friends, but even communicating normally. Haruno immediately began to be sarcastic, trying to make the girl look bad. Well, isn't it stupid? It was gratifying that during the mission she suddenly transformed into a knowledgeable and experienced medic. So today she ran away from night duty at the morgue, leaving something on the way about conquering Sasuke. She brought me lunch to the training ground and added some mixture of thistle, calamus, and something else. And she coated it with hot sauce on top so that I wouldn't taste it. It's good that he treated it to sure sway, but he had a not entirely normal reaction to calamus. He became covered in spots. Naruto laughed softly, covering her mouth with her hand. "Thistle, calamus and something else is a recipe for a well-known love spell that can win the heart of any man, from the moment of admission until the end of his days. At least that's what the new female doctors at the hospital said, discussing it in the toilet. Naruto almost died of laughter while she listened to them while sitting in the booth. After all, calamus in some cases causes an allergic reaction, as in the case of shursway, and thistle, with special treatment is a powerful diuretic. In general, a witch may not win a man, but he will remember her for a very long time. Sakura, ace medic and Senju student Tsunade couldn't help but know this. But apparently the woman in her is stronger. But this is not the only recipe that the newcomers told. This is what Naruto pleased his friend, who had to fight off Sakura's love spells. I'm not even talking about these looks, hints, her outfits and makeup, brr. Sasuke shrugged his shoulders. Has she really not realized that she is not interested in me? Tell her about it. The girl shrugged. I have tried. And he spoke softly and tactfully. And he was openly rude. Nothing helps. Maybe you can give her some hint? He asked his friend. Then she will definitely marry us in her thoughts. Naruto winced. Do I need it? We still have to work together, don't forget. Uzumaki, don't you want to save your friend? Even at the cost of his own life. You're right, I don't want to. Grandfather Khan knocked the tendency towards suicidal self-sacrifice out of me in the early stages. And Bie-chan from above secured the result. Now Sasuke laughed. The conversation smoothly moved on to abstract topics until Naruto was urgently called to the intensive care unit. Well, and there, everything is as it should be for the main hospital of Konoha. The young boy was tightly tied to the bed with belts with chakra-blocking seals. He squirmed, furiously rolled his bloodshot eyes and muttered strangledly, trying to spit out the gag that the kind doctors had constructed from a huge number of bandages. On the edge, near the wall, are two doctors, looking sideways at the patient with tired doom. What's going on here? Naruto asked with interest, looking at her colleagues with suspicion. I didn't even imagine those had such inclinations. Apparently, her thoughts were reflected on her face, because the doctors grimaced in unison. Here I woke up. One of them waved his hand. We need to transport it, but we don't know how. He is violent. We even tied him up so that the four would not be pulled out. And it is forbidden to use medicines and techniques on it. With a bitter sigh, Naruto looked at the patient. Exactly, Date Bayo. A couple of days ago a boy was brought to them with severe intoxication of the body. An unhappy lover who decided to commit suicide and swallowed pills. Well, hormones, love. Not shinobi, they don't act that way. He was cleared of the poison and was admitted to the intensive care unit to recover. The girl came up and pulled out the gag. Let me go! Her scream immediately deafened her. I can't live without her. She is everything to me. He twitched even more violently in his bonds. You can't stop me. I will go to the pure world without her. Go away. Uzumaki shrugged, pulling out the four. The action is harmless, but effective. The patient fell silent, looking at the doctor in shock. She nodded to her colleagues. To the morgue. She snapped decisively. Due to regular repair and restoration work, the intensive care unit was moved to the first floor, to the very corner. And it was possible to get to other wards only through a detour, through the morgue or other floors. But the patient did not know this. The prospect frightened him, especially the serious and even slightly bloodthirsty expressions on the faces of those gathered. The guy paused and twitched again. They are killing! Help! Minori-san, running along the corridor with a bunch of folders in his hands, looked at the screams, saw the belts, the deranged patient, shrugged his shoulders and ran on. The young suicide began to gnaw on the belts while the Irionins took him out into the corridor. They're killing! He yelled. You yourself wanted to die, Date Bayo. Uzumaki grinned affectionately. We will only help you. To the morgue! Confirmed the order. The patient calmed down and no longer twitched as he was taken away from the intensive care unit. In the residence room, unfinished medical histories awaited her, the imminent end of duty and the surprise that this end had been postponed indefinitely. A young intern, who 2 weeks ago had come to work with them full-time, sat on the sofa and burst into bitter tears. Her face turned red, her eyelids were swollen, the girl had already begun to hiccup, burying her face in her hands. Her 2 friends and Minori-san, who serves as the head of the hospital, were hovering around her. "Uzumaki, take care of her!" He nodded at the crying girl and left, taking her girlfriends with him. Naruto brought the kettle back, brewed a herbal infusion, and poured a generous portion of the sedative into it. She shoved the finished mixture into the girl's hands. She thanked me with a nod and began to sip slowly, gradually calming down. Naruto stroked her hair, using chakra to remove the effects of her tears. "What's happened?" Everyone in the hospital already knew. You could come to Naruto with any problem. She would listen and try to help. Even if she can't, it will become easier, because the girl listens warmly, carefully, with all sincerity. She doesn't lie, she speaks directly. And at the same time, he sympathizes and understands. Today I was sent to an appointment with a gynecologist. The girl began to tell. A woman came to me in her last month of pregnancy. And I noticed, she blushed. "What does she have there?" She whispers, "Is not shaved. Before giving birth, it was necessary to shave the perineum to avoid problems in the future. And it's much more convenient for doctors to work, and it's easier to stitch up tears if they appear." Naruto nodded and put her arm around the girl's shoulders. Now there was no need to focus on shame and embarrassment. Quite a bit of time will pass, and she will get used to the fact that the patient during treatment is not a person for them. They do not need to be embarrassed. Otherwise, how can you examine him if you can't open your eyes? The girl calmed down a little, hiccuped and settled on her shoulder, clutching a cup of tea in her hands. "She told me that she couldn't shave, her husband forbids her. It was already the 6th, I was a little tired." And she jumped out into the corridor, grabbed the man by the hand, and dragged him into the office. She showed it to him and asked what it was. And he began to deny it, saying that he was seeing this woman for the first time. I didn't believe it. But the patient also confirmed it. All in all, Naruto pushed her. It turned out not to be her husband. Her husband went out on the porch to smoke. The girl began to sob again. Naruto imagined an epic picture of a confused patient lying with her legs spread on a special chair in front of a strange man. "Did you run away from the reception?" the girl asked understandingly. She nodded and sniffled. "Okay." Naruto stood up. "Calm down and go home. Forget it, don't take it to heart, it could happen to anyone. But for the future, if you find yourself in a similar situation, apologize to your patients and continue seeing them. You do not have the right to abandon them and run away, because you are an ironing. I will take care of the remaining patients, but this is the first and last time. Got a date bail?" The girl quickly shook her head affirmatively. Naruto turned around and rushed to the gynecology office. A little time has passed since her return, which was spent on stage and getting used to the new work environment. With the need to pretend gone, Naruto felt relief. In the hospital, doing work or research, she was in her native element. Familiar, cozy, like old, worn-out slippers. Although all the time I had to pull myself together and control it so as not to start behaving like Shinomori Hino. Nothing I managed. Until now, the role of head of the hospital was filled by Minori-san, Shino-san's former deputy, but he called himself acting. For some reason, they were in no hurry to choose the head of the Irionin. Strange. 5 girls, at different stages of pregnancy, were waiting in front of the room. Naruto smiled, apologized for the delay and said that she would conduct the examination. And she immediately invited the patient into the office. There were no problems, the pregnancies proceeded normally, the women behaved with dignity, obediently followed all the instructions, as soon as it was explained to them exactly why this or that action or medicine was needed. For Naruto, time passed unnoticed, but when she finished, it turned out that she had examined 8 women, and it was already dark in the late evening outside the window. While she was heading to the staff room to get her things, she was intercepted by a disheveled, out-of-breath Minori-san. "Uzumaki! It's you that I'm looking for!" he exclaimed joyfully. "You're scaring me, Datebail." Naruto enlightened him, timidly moving away. "Here." He unloaded a huge stack of folders. "Soon there will be practice at the Uchiha SPA. Here are the candidates. Select 5 people. Give me the list with your signature tomorrow." "Why me?" "Minori-san." Uzumaki tried to object. "This is the job of the head of the hospital. Only he has the right to approve candidates for internship. Your signature, as an A-rank Irionin, will also do." Minori waved it off. There were spots of blush on his cheeks, an indication that the man was lying. "Then Sakura, she..." "You, Uzumaki," Ironin almost sang, running away. "And hopefully we'll have a chapter again soon." Another strange thing, no one objected that a newcomer, albeit a high-ranking one, was entrusted with such an important task. On the contrary, the Irionins, who were in the corridor at that time and witnessed the scene, looked suspiciously pleased. This was something to think about in your spare time. From such enthusiasm and some conspiratorial glances, Naruto hastened to hide in Sai's room. They definitely won't look there, at least not right away. The comrade raised his head, looking up from reading another book on psychology. "Hello? See you." Naruto greeted him cheerfully, settling down on the floor. She crossed her legs and fanned out her personal files around her. "I demand political asylum from you." "Your shift ended 3 hours ago." Sai raised an eyebrow. "Why are you still here? Sudden attack of workaholism?" "A sudden attack of general enthusiasm." The girl squinted at the idea that suddenly came to her head. She looked at her friend carefully. "Listen, Sai, do you want to spy at your leisure? Friends should help each other." The shinobi nodded. "But I cannot break the oath I took to look after the good of the village. What should I do in such a situation?" "No violations, Datebail." Naruto was indignant. "I just want to ask you to find out what's been going on with the local Irenans lately. They're kind of strange. For my part, I promise a generous reward." "Which one?" "A shadow of interest. Delicious homemade baked goods. I'm a great cook. Imagine soft, tender dough with a golden crust." Further agitation and seduction was interrupted by a delicate knock on the door. 3 men entered the room. 2 tall brunettes with black eyes and 1 short brown-haired man with green cat-like eyes. They seemed to be of different heights, with different appearances, but the emptiness in their eyes is the same. "We came for a mission, Uzumaki-san," the eldest of them clearly reported. All 3 fell to their knees, not paying attention to the fact that the girl was sitting on the floor, never letting go of the sheet of paper. "What task, Datebail?" Naruto was taken aback. The men did not raise their heads, did not get up from their knees, and the medic felt extremely uncomfortable. "The fighter under the code name Sai said that you can help us adapt to ordinary life as quickly as possible." The elder answered, still indifferent. Naruto turned her gaze to her friend. He shrugged his shoulders, slightly embarrassed. "These are mine," he thought. "Colleagues." He finally gave a suitable definition. Naruto pinched the bridge of her nose tiredly. Common work brings people together. This was the principle that guided her when she was looking for approaches to Sai, who knew that after returning from Suna, she would be given the responsibility to place all the other former subordinates of Danzo. The Irionins thought that since her methods worked with Sai, the most stubborn of them all, it means they would help the others too. From that day on, the Cornovites crawled around the hospital, repairing, building, painting even where it was not required. But the main thing is the result. Accustomed to orders, for the first time they were faced with responsibilities that would not bring harm to any one complete benefit. Where there was no need to look for a catch, a second bottom, balancing on the brink of one's own principles and oath of allegiance. And gradually, slowly and almost imperceptibly, they became closer to the others. The doctors fed them, invited them to tea, forced them to look after sick children, which was a real test even for the best shinobi, and considered them part of their large, friendly team. The root merged more and more tightly into ordinary life. They were no longer afraid to be sent on missions outside the village. And it was Naruto who was put in charge of this disgrace. She came up with new tasks and distributed responsibilities. And she began to notice that not only patients were running to her, but also Irionans, who essentially had to obey Minori. People came to her with medical histories, extracts, conclusions, simply their problems and concerns. Her desk, which previously belonged to Shino, and the small laboratory in which she spent most of her time had long ago turned into a semblance of the chief physician's office. And all these whispers, conspiracies, mysterious glances. What is going on? She didn't have enough information to draw any conclusions. She could only hope that Sai would agree to help, because they wouldn't tell her or Sakura anything. She raised an eyebrow, and the comrade understood without words what was required of him. A calculating infection, he said, bowing his head. This is precisely one of those topics that should not be discussed between friends, unless you are talking jokingly, Naruto said morally. And then she smiled cheerfully. But thanks for the compliment, Datebao. Because? Agree. For the pies, he added thoughtfully, a little hesitantly. Naruto beamed. She began to become impudent and express her own opinion. This is good. The girl turned to the shinobi awaiting her decision. First, get up, she ordered. She looked around at the soldiers lined up. Why didn't I see you in the hospital before? We were on a secret mission for Hokage-sama. Again a clear answer, so that the words literally bounce off your teeth. Okay, follow me. Sai, see you later. The idea that came to mind may not have been the best, but sometimes you need to act in a rush, not progressively. So remember, under no circumstances let them itch. Never and never, Datebao. There is ointment there, they will show it to you themselves. And don't take your eyes off them, they are still small and curious. They will run away and not notice. Oh yeah, and answer all their questions. The faces of the shinobi first showed bewilderment when the girl led them to the children's department, where orphans with viral and serious diseases were usually treated. Clan and family members preferred to be at home. Actually, like Shinomori Hino, she changed the hospital a lot. Now they did not dare to refuse help to anyone. The door with a butterfly painted on it swung open, and 7 curious faces appeared inside, smeared with blue paint mixed with orange anti-rash ointment. Children, your teachers. Fulfill all their reasonable demands, show them what is where. And you can safely ask them questions, they are elite shinobi. The kids' eyes lit up with anticipation, causing even the emotionless root ninjas to twitch. Is the order understood, Datebao? The shinobi nodded and disappeared into the room. Naruto closed the door behind them. The infectious disease, which causes a rash to appear all over the body and a brief rise in temperature, this time affected 7 children at once. The disease appeared in childhood and was easily tolerated, giving antibodies for the rest of my life. But the kids were still locked in the hospital just in case. What if some of the adults are not immune? Then the treatment will be more difficult. 7 future shinobi, active and curious in a small confined space, what could be more terrible? They soon got bored of sitting in one place, reading books or drawing, and they made attempts to escape. Then they began to send adult shinobi to them, from those who had probably suffered the disease. But even Naruto was tired of answering the endless questions of little Wise. She herself had to review personal files and select doctors to practice at the Uchiha Spa. The difficulty was that they had to work almost independently under the nominal supervision of their elders. And not just the lives of fellow citizens depended on this work, but also the well-being and reputation of the entire complex and the oldest of the clans. No one wanted to incur the wrath of the Uchiha, so the most calm and brainy ones had to be selected, those who were already capable of making independent decisions. In addition, professional qualities were also important, not just personal characteristics. Many people dreamed of joining the Uchiha, not only rich material for work, excellent knowledge, but also very good pay. Naruto herself had to be content with only the role of a guest, a visitor. Her accelerated training program and further dominance over the hospital did not imply long absences. Naruto locked herself in a small laboratory who would come there except those on duty. And they preferred to sit in the warm staff room, drinking tea in a calm night environment. Sakura also did not undergo such practice, although she definitely deserved it. If you ignore Sasuke's suffering and look at her personal history with an open mind, she has the best characteristics as a medic. As for the split personality, it's a completely controllable phenomenon that helps her remove the effects of weak genjutsu and mind control, as in the case of Yamanaka. This was not a problem. So, all that remained was to advise Sasuke to stay away from their family enterprise for the next month. When Naruto finished, it was deep night outside. The girl put aside the folders with the certified list on top to bring to the Hokage for approval tomorrow. She sent chakra through her body. On the one hand, it's time to go home and go to bed. Tomorrow the shift is at 7:30 again. On the other hand, there were at most 7 hours left before the shift, so we might as well be patient. And instead, repeat new techniques, since chakra control allows you not to worry about the safety of the building. After saving Gaara, there was a temporary lull, and Naruto decided to engage in self-improvement. While fighting Akatsuki, the girl realized how behind she was in strength and techniques. An ordinary Rasengan could not cope with the highest class Nuke Nin. Something different, more lethal was needed. The girl sat down on the floor, crossed her legs and closed her eyes. A tiny Rasengan began to form on the palm of his hand. Slowly, carefully, she began to add air to it, pouring in small portions. That's when excellent chakra control came in handy. It would be better if you performed this technique somewhere far away from large populated areas. And even better in the Valley of the End. There is one statue. Naruto grinned. The fox couldn't help but sneer. But in general he is right. Last time, if the barrier had not been placed in time, half the hostel would have been destroyed by this equipment. The futon filled the Rasengan with truly devilish power, as if thousands of explosive needles were piercing the target. She retained her appearance, but her insides. For the first time, Uzumaki felt scared, but she was not going to retreat. She needed strength to protect her friends. This is not the time to be afraid. This time the balance was perfect. The Rasengan changed shape, as if it had blossomed like a flower, turning into a huge shuriken. Rasen shuriken. Naruto grinned, a burning wave of encouragement coming from within. No matter what Kyuubi said, he was also worried. Can't wait, Uzumaki. Oh, she's been promoted from vessel to human. Naruto laughed hoarsely, feeling a little dizzy. Fatigue, lack of sleep, plus colossal consumption of chakra and overexertion. But I should have tried to pour it into the Rasengan sweeten. I wonder what will happen. Her trembling palms covered other, warm and strong hands. Naruto dispelled the technique and turned her head, meeting the hypnotic gaze of black eyes. Itachi seemed to have woven the night itself, poured its own colors into him. The contrast of white and black, the formal coldness of the Uchiha, and the understanding tenderness of Itachi. Her Itachi. You should get more rest, he calmly noted, sitting down on a small sofa. Naruto put him against the wall when she started staying to work at night. You can't go home for 2 hours of sleep. Will you keep me company? The girl smiled. Naruto stretched out along her narrow body, feeling a strong arm hug her shoulders. Now, in the darkness of the night, in the uncertain light of the small table lamp, Itachi seemed like a demon. And demons danced in his eyes. It consisted of shadows, of irregular, sharp and hard angles. But it was with this demon that it was so good to remain silent. She liked to watch how dark velvet and golden silk of hair were intertwined under her thin, pale fingers. They flowed, intertwined. Itachi brought the strands to his eyes, inhaled their aroma, closing his eyelids. And even Naruto, who knew him better than anyone else, could not say what he was thinking about at this moment. Who would tell a stupid girl that she needs to run, to save herself from the brilliant boy from the Uchiha house, who involuntarily became her coach? Because with every day, with every minute spent with Itachi, she felt how their bonds were strengthening and growing. Painful, excruciating pleasure when someone invisible and powerful pierces living skin with a sharp needle and sews it to a person with harsh threads. Only missions, Itachi's long missions, allowed Naruto to feel these bonds, their tension. Your anxiety and fear. Fear that Itachi will not return. And the memory of the first, sunny kiss. The sweetest, the most bitter. The only one. Only in his arms could she hide from her vague, not yet formed fears. From the awareness of this painful and sweet connection. Neither work, nor study, nor training his presence became a cure for poison. Naruto sighed, hugged her friend around the waist, and pressed her even tighter, as if through her warm skin she could convey some of her worries to him. As if Itachi could take them away from her with a touch. Scary. It's scary to open up to someone so much that he will know absolutely everything about you, understand and see. Scary, for his reaction. You are mine! The apogee of love for the Uchiha. And scary. And sweet. She may be at least 3 times a shinobi and a strong warrior, but first of all she is a person, a simple girl. You think too much, Itachi remarked with a chuckle. And he poked 2 fingers of his free hand into his forehead, like a brother. You have nothing to fear. I will always be there. Despite everything. The girl nodded, hiding her face as she traced symbols on his shirt. Naru, he called, clasping his chin with his fingers, forcing him to look straight into his eyes. The black pools didn't need any Sharingan. They already pulled you in and forced you to obey. What are you afraid of? She shrugged. Don't know. Dissolve? Become addicted? Shook her head. Don't know. Naru, you will never obey anyone. You cannot become a servant, you can only love. That's your nature. He stroked her head. You love everyone at once, like the sun, the whole world. This is also a kind of dependence, dissolution. But you will always remain yourself. They fell silent. Itachi continued to stroke the girl's forearm with his fingertips, thinking about something of his own. Naruto was silent, offering herself to be touched like a petting cat. Itachi knew how to find the right words for her, as if he read her thoughts. Or maybe the genius really has such a technique in stock? The girl grinned. It is stupid and useless to think about what she herself does not understand. Let everything go as it goes, no matter how scary it may be. They can handle it. Because next to Itachi it's calm, truly harmonious. Because perhaps what she feels for him is called love. Like mom and dad. The apogee of Uzumaki love. I won't rush you. There is a smile and tenderness in the voice. But I won't give it to anyone. Don't give it away. Naruto sighed happily. Anxieties were again calmed by the feeling that everything was right, everything was going as it should. Can I be a little naughty? She wrinkled her nose slyly. You can. Itachi nodded, lightly kissing the tip of his nose. You can do anything. Then I want to sleep. And for you to be close. Until morning, she ordered, and her eyes laughed. And he returned the smile. I will be near. Always. Don't doubt. Itachi affectionately fingered the loose strands, listening to the quiet, measured beating of his friend's heart. Naruto fell asleep on his chest with her leg thrown over him. It was as if even in my sleep I was afraid that he would leave. Owner. At this thought, something purred with satisfaction in my chest. He knew she was afraid. A girl who has never shared her entire life with anyone. And he gave me time to get used to it, to grow into it. Because he himself did not intend to let Uzumaki go. He has already sprouted into her soul and body, attached to her forever, sewn together with invisible threads. Kagami-san called this the apogee of Uchiha love. When the whole world is concentrated in only one person, when you will do everything for his sake, for his happiness. You'll even let go. He had to sacrifice too much. A measured, ordinary life, to become a genius, possible friends to carry out the secret orders of the clan, to be a worthy son. And now he decided to allow himself to be a little selfish. He will not let Naruto go, never to anyone, and will get out of the way anyone who dares to cross his path. He accompanied her home, gave her small but significant gifts, pursuing only one goal: to claim his rights to her. Unobtrusively, so as not to scare Naruto. So that she doesn't wag her golden tail proudly and leave. Her strands smelled of sun, sea, and cherries. Itachi took a deep breath of the delicate aroma, intoxicating his head more than any wine. He ran his fingers over his cheek and touched the scars, and lightly kissed her nose. Tenderness grew and expanded in my chest, unusual, scorching, warm, and sunny. His personal sunbeam. The sun of his world. He will be there for as long as you need, so that Naruto can truly become his. He watched, carefully, intently. I saw that she was comfortable around him. She smiled more often, more sincerely. And he understood her as he understood himself. He liked to watch her blue eyes light up with exploratory delight when she practiced a new technique. How it shines when everything works out. I liked sharing the joy with her. And that was right. He closed his eyes, just for a little while, just to take a nap. In the morning he had to go to Tsunade-sama for a task. The Senju princess asked him to urgently come to her. I wonder what happened there. In the morning, Naruto, beaming, already washed, kissed him on the cheek and flew off to hand over his personal files, asking him to hand over the list of trainees to Tsunade. The Hokage accepted him immediately. Besides her and Shizen, there were 3 children sitting in the office, apparently genin who had recently graduated from the academy. Tsunade-san, Naruto asked me to hand over the documents for practice. Itachi-kun, it's good that you came. The Hokage was happy, accepting the folder. Meet, this is the 3rd team of academy graduates this year. I gave them a mission, but their teacher got sick. You will replace him. I obey. What kind of mission? Catching experimental samples that escaped from the laboratory. Itachi raised an eyebrow. Still, for genin this is too much. Tsunade-san, isn't this too dangerous? No. The Hokage waved it off frivolously. Get details from the hospital. They already know that you are coming. Free. Itachi and the genin headed out. Hello, Sai. Naruto entered the room. You better run away from here, Datebale. Sakura went on morning duty. It seemed that this was impossible in principle, but even so the pale shinobi became even whiter. By the way, here are the promised pies. The girl took out from the seal the delicacies prepared the day before yesterday. What did you find out? They're really up to something. And this applies to you. They go to each other and signed some papers. But I was always caught and returned here. It was clear that Sai was dissatisfied with how easily the ordinary-looking Iraianins saw through him. Shouldn't we tell him that the doctors trained on fleeing Jounins? Thank you, Sai, you helped me a lot, Datebao. The girl sincerely thanked. Would you like to find out what all this is for? Itachi gazed at the genin sitting on the bench in front of him. He did not like to teach, and he did not know how. Ototo is a pleasant exception, quickly grasping everything on the fly. The elder Uchiha simply would not have the patience to repeat the same thing 100 times, so he never took the command. It was easier to work alone. What is your name? Tora. A dark-eyed, brown-haired man with tattoos on his cheeks. Sheik. A shy brunette with glasses. Yasagi. The short blonde with glasses smiled affably. My name is Uchiha Itachi. For the duration of this mission, I am your commander. Let's go. Along the way, you will tell us what you can do and what techniques you already know. Listening out of the corner of his ear to the report of his charges, Itachi was surprised to find himself smiling. Funny team, animal. Tiger, deer, and rabbit. And they live up to their names. Tora reported, gloomy, eyes sparkling at the temporary deputy mentor. Shika hesitated next to him. Yasagi smiled timidly. The hospital, as always, resembled a disturbed beehive. Everyone was in a hurry and running somewhere. Konoha didn't have a high rate of injuries or accidents, but the hospital was never empty. Elderly people, pregnant women, or young parents came here almost every day. And there were still shinobi who needed to be caught, new teams that needed to be checked, for which cards needed to be created. Itachi always came through the window, and only to Naruto. But now, standing in the main, crowded corridor of the hospital, I began to understand why Uzumaki was so brutally tired that she immediately passed out as soon as she sat down on the bed. Itachi-san? Thor looked from under his bangs. Who will we ask about the mission? We'll find it now. Itachi noticed a familiar dark dress and a long light braid in the crowd. Naruto. After Danzo's death, they no longer needed to pretend that they didn't know each other. And the alibi in the form of Oturo worked perfectly in the team. The girl looked back at the call, noticed him and blossomed with a friendly smile. Itachi? Concern appeared on her face. Something happened? Are you okay? Immediately began to scan her friend's body. The elder Uchiha grabbed her hands and squeezed her palms. Everything is fine. I led the team on a mission to the hospital. Only now did Nara pay attention to the genin standing next to them. Hello, Daipeo. The genin smiled and greeted each other in a discordant chorus, obeying the lively charm of the Uzumaki. In addition, everyone knew that it was this girl who helped save the Kazekage. It's doubly nice that such a kunoichi paid attention. It was written in large letters on the children's faces. They stepped aside so as not to disturb the Irenans. As you know, not every shinobi has his own call. Not everyone manages to sign a contract or come to an agreement with the inhabitants of other worlds. But their help is sometimes irreplaceable, so our scientists decided to create helper animals. Intelligent, kind, loyal and devoted, who would help their masters during the mission. We decided to try it on ordinary laboratory mice. As a result, the experiment got out of control. Under the influence of chakra, the mice grew and became more intelligent. Now their brains are simpler than those of humans, but much more complex than those of animals. And they became addicted to valerian. You can find it in any form: capsules, tablets, plants. They had already chewed through all the boxes that were in the warehouse. That's why we asked to send a team of genin to catch them. They know our mice by sight and don't give in. How many are there? 7 pieces, the size of a large cat. Well, or a small dog. The girl shrugged. Come on, I'll show you where they most often go. The girl led them to the warehouse. The genin looked around enthusiastically, anticipating the hunt for monsters unknown to science under the leadership of the genius of the Uchiha clan. Indeed, such an adventure! Itachi walked next to Naruto, 2 steps ahead. Why weren't they destroyed immediately? He asked quietly. They are not dangerous, Daipeo. Kind, not at all aggressive, although harmful and malicious. And also smart, infectious. But their passion for valerian, she shook her head. We will run out of all supplies so soon, Daipeo. Itachi chuckled. Why didn't you catch them before? Naruto looked at him slyly. Who said that they weren't caught? As soon as they realized that the experiment had failed, they locked them in a cage. They chewed it to the ground and fled. Each ironing caught them exactly once. The mice learn, remember his face and methods of work. Wow! I'm telling you, they're smart. Just like you, so sarcastically. Thank you, Uzumaki. The man snorted. I have never been compared to mice before. You're welcome, uncle. Naruto laughed, then returned to the topic. So, given the nature of the mice, Bachan ordered them to be left. Still, Ms. Fujimi and Tora don't come every day, and the genin needs someone to practice on. The dark warehouse room greeted them with the smells of herbs, medicines, and wary rustling. There was a rat sitting on the box. White, with a sharp nose, curious eyes, and a hairless tail. She sniffed, moving her short antennae, moving her paws with tiny fingers. Usagi squealed shrilly, the rat squeaked, turned around and ran off into the darkness. Don't panic, Itachi said calmly. His calm, quiet voice echoed throughout the room. Usagi fell silent. The genins looked at the commander with widened eyes. In battle, panic only interferes with planning your actions. Calm down. What is the work plan for search or rescue operations? First, explore the area. Carefully, trying not to damage the marks. Chika immediately answered. Then try to recreate the picture of what happened. Usagi quietly picked up, still shuddering and nervously looking around. Itachi felt the Uzumaki's approving smile and a breath of air with his back. The girl set up a cage for the rat mice and left, leaving them alone. Naruto was making the base of an anti-burn ointment for shinobi who had recently returned from a mission when Sai's silhouette appeared in the window. In his usual clothes, and with a black eye. What happened in those 2 hours that we didn't see each other, Datebao? Naruto ran a finger under her eyelid, hinting at her comrade's injury. I read that if you offend a friend, you must definitely apologize to him. And the sooner the better. The guy winced while the girl rummaged through the cabinets, clinking jars, looking for what she needed. And? I went to Sakura. What did you tell her? Literally. Uzumaki turned around and began to lubricate the battle wound. I said that I apologize, although everything I said was true, Naruto giggled. How else did Haruno not kill him? However, Sai is a fast-running master of disguise, so his durability is understandable. The door swung open from a strong kick. Uzumaki, can you imagine? Sakura noticed the stranger, bared her teeth bloodthirstily and cracked her knuckles. And here you are! She moved threateningly towards her teammate. Sakura, calm down. You'll give him a concussion. They will force you to treat Datebao. Naruto waved her arms while Sai wisely moved behind her. No, can you imagine? He called me a bitch. And evil. And what do you disagree with? Naruto giggled. They ran away from the angry Haruno together. Itachi exhaled and leaned against the wall. Tired genins lay spread out like stars nearby. They didn't even have the strength to open their eyes. The mice really turned out to be amazingly smart. They fooled the hunters, forced them to run throughout the warehouse, lured them even into the basement, to the pipes, and tried to throw them into the sewer. It's good that the Uchiha discovered the trap with the help of his Sharingan. And it was even more offensive to use dojutsu not against the enemy, but against animals. Even if they are so smart. They fought and scratched no worse than Tora's cat. Shika was even bitten on the nose a couple of times, not too much, but very offensive. Usagi got permanent green dye on her hair, and only ribbons remained of Tora's pants. The mice not only set up ambushes, they did not allow the lights to be turned on. They took out and hid all the plugs, including spare ones. And they giggled disgustingly somewhere in the darkness. In the end, angry, hungry, tired shinobi found furry sadists on one of the boxes with herbs. They lounged and lazily chewed a sprig of valerian, squeaking contentedly. They went into the cage voluntarily, half asleep, but happy. Aren't you ashamed? Itachi asked the mice rhetorically, not really expecting an answer. 7 thick carcasses instantly turned their tails towards him. Insolence, stated the genius of the Uchiha clan. The largest, gray mouse with a ragged scar crossing its left eye, made a wave-like movement with its upper paws, as if shrugging its shoulders, and squeaked something mockingly. Do you know how to use technology? Itachi became interested. The mice turned their faces to him again and shook their heads negatively. But they passed through any Fuin barrier. Noted a familiar female voice. Naruto Uzumaki came out of the shadows and approached the cage. Traffic jams? She extended her hand. The gray mouse poked somewhere in the side, actively rotating its tail. Naruto nodded, rummaged around a little behind the boxes, and disappeared into the darkness of the small corridor. A minute later, the warehouse was filled with dim light. The mission was completed perfectly. The returning girl nodded to the genin. Here's the document. Hand him over to the Hokage tomorrow. Themselves? She said with emphasis. Moreover, your teacher will be able to go to work the day after tomorrow. The genin grumbled something approvingly, stood up, took the paper, and staggering, headed out. At the same time, they cast angry and vengeful glances at the cage with rodents. They lay on their backs, showing off their fat, bulging bellies. Itachi remembered with sadness that their breakfast was there, which the mice stole when the hunters decided to take a break. That's right, I refuse to take a team. Itachi rubbed his eyes. These are their tasks. What else will the Godame come up with for us? Hokage? I'm sure you would handle everything perfectly. The girl smiled and sat down on the box. Right, Hataki? She turned to the gray mouse, taking him out of the cage. The others climbed out through the open door and sat around the medic, watching with anticipation. Itachi? The Uchiha sat down next to him, moving his red carcass. The mouse squeaked displeasedly, but gave way. And look! Isn't it similar, Date Bale? The mouse was large, dark gray and very, very important. A crimson thread of scar stretched across his closed eye. But the only sighted one looked as if a rodent could see right through a person. And then he yawned, the expression on his muzzle became lazy, even a little indifferent, and Itachi chuckled. In general terms, he agreed. He is the head, the captain of these bandits. He likes to chew books, is orange in color, and often runs into Inuzuka territory. Seems to have become friends with Akamaru. This is why they called him Itachi. She swung her legs cheerfully, fiddling with the tip of Hitachi's braid and tail, which indicated that the girl was worried. And he thinks intensely about something, decides something for himself. Itachi liked this reasonableness. Despite all his emotionality, Uzumaki will never go ahead. He won't take unnecessary risks. It's better to calculate everything once again. And she wrinkled her nose so funny when she thought about serious questions. Her face took on an amusingly determined expression. Naruto jumped off the box and placed Itachi in her place. She pulled Itachi's hand. And she kissed him. Herself. Itachi recovered from his surprise a second later and seized the initiative. Naruto didn't know how to kiss, which was fortunate. Because the innocent tenderness of her lips, their taste, awkward movements, made my head spin. They didn't try to press themselves closer to each other, like in cheap romances. For what? After all, they are indivisible. No, they just stood next to each other. Naruto grabbed the shirt, squeezing it with thin fingers, and Itachi put his hands on her waist. And he stroked, caressed with the light touches of his tongue, drank her taste. And he went crazy from this unbearable closeness, because here and now he felt like one with her. An indignant squeak interrupted the idyll. Naruto pulled away, licking her swollen lips, looking at Itachi with crazy, sparkling eyes. The man pulled him towards him, pressed him, feeling happy. Itachi squeaked loudly, and waved his long tail menacingly. The mouse army supported him. You know, I was counting on a romantic atmosphere. For example, in the garden or under our tree by the lake. But I never thought that our second kiss would happen in a hospital warehouse, surrounded by a flock of experimental rats. He shared with the girl, kissing the fluffy top of her head. Naruto shook with laughter. In the morning, when Itachi, in the company of Sasuke, ran to Uzumaki for breakfast, the girl was urgently summoned to the Hokage. Moreover, the trembling of the messenger's voice was alarming. The brothers looked at each other with concern and, quickly chewing a couple of hot sandwiches, hurried with their friend to the residence. Tsunade waved the thick stack of papers irritably. Naruto, this is just terrible. She handed the stack to the student. Your slaves want you to become their slave owner again. Itachi looked over his friend's shoulder. On each sheet there is an application or request with only one general request to appoint Naruto Uzumaki as the new head of the Konoha Hospital, since she is the only worthy successor to Shinomori Hino-san is like her like two peas in a pod. Sasuke could hardly restrain his smile. Naruto blushed embarrassedly. Itachi chuckled. Big secrets can only be kept by a large team, Tsunade-san. I know, Itachi-kun. The Hokage waved him off. But they all came to me at 4:30 in the morning in indignant cry. And they didn't even ask, they demanded that they consider their request and make a positive decision. Otherwise, they simply give up, they cannot work without a head. They hinted very subtly that they know how to keep secrets, like no one else. You know, I have never been so politely blackmailed. And what do you say, Bie-chan? Naruto asked worriedly. What options could there be? Tsunade chuckled. I already signed the order. I will destroy the compromising evidence. As of today, you are the new head of Konoha Hospital. Go get ready. Your new and old subordinates told me in confidence that they are preparing a holiday. Even mice were invited. Sasuke couldn't stand it and laughed. Can you imagine Dobe to Kakashi?